check out the website because we're doing a canvas today in
Okay,
Pembroke Pines.
what's your website?
Locklin for Congress, LOCKLIN for Congress.com.
Good. I like you have your own merch.
Yeah.
Well, it is pouring rain here in St. Pete, so I'm glad that you have sun. For those of us just joining us, this is Nicole Locklin. She's an attorney with over a decade of legal experience, most recently as the lead commercial legal counsel for healthcare and life sciences at Databricks. She grew up in a working family in rural Oklahoma, where her parents ran a crop dusting business. She went to public school, became a first-generation college student or graduate, and relied on college loans, like most of us, right, to get her law degree. And now you're running for Congress in
Yes.
Florida's 26th district, and your goal is to bring new leadership to South Florida to fight for lower cost of living and for working families. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for running. That is just in itself huge. Talk to us about how you made this decision.
Yeah, so politics was not in my plan at all. I am super engaged with politics, but I donate to campaigns. I read the news. I'm very plugged in. But in terms of joining my local club or doing any of that stuff, I was very much just like an online supporter. And we were, basically once Trump took office, the months that followed were just I just started being filled with more and more rage, and I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe nothing is, we have systems in place to stop this from happening. Why isn't Congress, reining in his power? Why aren't people enforcing the laws? And then in January, when Renee Good was murdered, I went down to the federal detention center, ICE detention center in downtown Miami, thinking there would be protests or some sort of outrage from the
Yeah.
public, and I was the only person there, and I was just screaming for like 45 minutes with my sign, like they're murdering U.S. citizens in the street,
Yeah.
and I looked around and I was like, whatever or whoever I thought was going to come and save us, they're not coming.
Yeah.
And so then, because I wasn't super involved in the Democratic Party here or politics at all, I started looking around at ways that I could help. Maybe I'd go canvass or volunteer or something. And I looked at my district, and there's a guy in office who's an election denier. He votes to cut healthcare any chance he gets. He supports, you know, unlimited war while people here can't afford to live. And so I figured at a point in time when our democracy is on the line, the last thing I want is a representative who has proven that he's a sellout and a Trump rubber stamp. And they basically gerrymandered this district thinking they could take part of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's Democratic district, put them in Mario Diaz-Balart's district, which is a very deep red district, and just, erase 80,000 Democratic votes. And there wasn't a candidate running against him on the Democratic side. So it was just unacceptable to me that, the people of Florida 26 wouldn't have a choice to begin with. And then we would be saddled with, somebody who is a failure by all of my accounts in office for 2 more years when, we're staring down the barrel of authoritarianism, fascism. We're, being ruled by tech oligarchs and billionaires, and average people are really struggling. And this administration says affordability is a hoax. So, it just felt like something I had to do.
I mean,
And
that's
yeah,
very brave to you have no political experience, right?
right. No, this is it.
What's it been like so far to go from like a average citizen to suddenly a congressional candidate?
It's really scary. The main calculus of whether or not I was going to do this is like, oh, you have to put yourself out there. You have to put a target on your back. You have to, but luckily, I'm not in the Epstein files, and I'm not I'm not one of these people who decides to run for office and then is shocked when you find out that they're like a sexual abuser or something. So,
That's good.
I mean, I don't have skeletons in my closet the way other people do, but it is like, it's just scary to, you know, say all the things that you feel and think, and stand 10 toes down on them and
Yeah.
know that 50% of the people are gonna hate it just because, they're
Yeah,
on the other
tell
side.
what's it like to knock doors and to have conversations with voters in Florida?
It's everybody is really saying the same thing, which is, "I can't afford my life and nobody cares." I think it's the second part that is really hitting people is like, "What do you mean we're giving money to, uh, Japan and all these other countries because the issue that we're creating in Iran is making it so that we have to give money to all these other countries because they can't buy oil." And it's just every single action this administration is taking is clearly not in the interest of the American people. And when, in South Florida, the average homeowner's insurance is $8,000 a year. Car payments are averaging $770 a month. A one-bedroom apartment in South Florida, I don't even know if you could get one for $2,700 now.
Yeah,
And
Miami's like the most expensive city. It's outpaced New York now.
yeah, like I meet people who I'm like, "Oh, great, like you're here at the airport, which is in my district. Do you live in my district?" No, I live 2 hours away and I commute down here from, I can't remember the name of the town, but it was like Boynton Beach or something. Like, it was over an hour and a half commute each way. And that's where people are, is they are working so hard and they cannot afford anything. And we have all been sold this American dream that if you work hard, you can afford a house, you can afford nice things, you can afford to live a good life. And this, uh, picture that the Republican Party is painting, that all these people that are struggling aren't working hard or they aren't doing something right, is just, it's simply not, it's divorced from reality. Like, that's not what's happening. Everybody here is working hard, and now they're being asked to decide between feeding their kids or feeding themselves, taking their medication on the regular, because, a lot of people I've talked to are skipping medications because they can't afford to fill it as regularly. It's just all of these things. You would think that we're living in some country that isn't the wealthiest country in the world, but we are, and we have the money. We're just using it on other things, or, these corrupt billionaires are just looting the American economy, basically.
But when you talk to voters, is that what you're hearing? I mean, are people paying attention? Do they even know who their rep is and what they value or represent? I mean, like when you're having conversations, what's that like?
It's really like people are focused on the fact that they can't afford anything, and they're not really seeing the bigger picture. So that's a big part of what we're working on. Getting out, meeting voters where they are, having that conversation. We just had the primary, obviously. We were disappointed with the voter turnout, but it's a little, it's a little tricky in Florida because it's a closed primary
Yeah.
state. So people who are NPAs wouldn't have voted. And in our district, the NPAs are like a third of the voters. So, maybe it would have been higher, but it is, it shows how much work we have to do to educate people on, you have a voice and it matters. And if it didn't matter, the Florida legislator wouldn't be going out of its way to cheat and make make changes to the voting districts and try to eliminate Democratic seats.
Yeah.
Your voice matters. And if you want something to change, you're going to have to vote for something different. And Mario
Yeah.
Diaz-Balart has been in office for over 2 decades, and he's selling out the people of South Florida. That's plain and simple. He's not
Is
working
he
for them.
is he willing to debate you? Do you know yet?
I would assume that we're definitely going to ask, and we are going to push for that, and I would love it. But we are already running into the fact that he won't do news interviews because then they would have to, he won't do news interviews because then they would have to interview me.
Ah.
So,
Good strategy.
yeah. But he is on, he's in office. So when he gives interviews here lately, he's been definitely plugging the Democrats don't want to work. They want everything for free. They want communism. They want socialism. It's like, can you get a different playbook, sir?
Yeah.
It's so tired.
Has it been what you I mean, I wanna go back to your childhood for a second. You grew up in a small town in
Yes, a
Oklahoma in a
thousand people.
1,000 people in a crop dusting family. I mean, is this something you'd ever imagined you would be doing?
No, no, fully not. I had built my career as an attorney. And I was honestly getting to the point where, I'd done this for over 10 years. I like to say that I've done it and that you know, but it was not necessarily giving me the most joy. And what I do like to do, um, when when I'm not working is I'm a DIY type of person, and we moved into we bought our first home. We're first time home buyers. And so after living in apartments for, 12 years, I was just like, yes, I can paint it the color I want. So I was really into that, and I was like, oh, it'd be great if I could start making money like this and not have to be a lawyer anymore. And then, Donald Trump's trying to take us into World War III, so I guess I gotta
Mhm.
go fight for our democracy, like, so not where I thought I would end up.
Yeah, but I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do that. I mean, does it what's the experience been like?
My friends are super, super supportive. It's been really awesome to see, like, the community get behind me and, the excitement from people here who have been begging for something different. And I guess, like, it takes a newcomer like me to throw my hat in this ring when most people are like, "Oh," because Mario Diaz-Balart's family is kind of like an institution in South Florida.
Yeah,
Like, he had an older brother that was in Congress. He has a brother that's like a newscaster or something. And so, I think it was a little bit of, um I didn't know the environment, but I also didn't care because it had to be done, you know? Like, and when we looked at our district, um, because like I said, I didn't even know what district I was in. I didn't know who my rep was. I just like wasn't paying attention to like the local
yeah,
politics. And um I was like, well, I'm not gonna run if we're in a Democratic district and there's a Democrat running. Like, I'm not trying to get into politics like that.
right.
But we were gerrymandered in to Mario Diaz-Balart's district, and it felt like fate because where our apartment was, like, literally the last little corner of the gerrymander, and before the gerrymander, the district was so weird. It was, like, all the way from Naples on the east side of the state across like, Alligator Alley, and then went through, like, the area of Miami where the airport is, through Wynwood and all the way to the water. And so it was just very bizarre the way that they cut it up to begin with. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, when we were looking at it, it all felt like fated because the gerrymander, we were the last house in his district. Otherwise, we would have been in the,
right.
main Democratic district. And then the gerrymander happened and they knew I was already in the race and they gerrymandered me out of the district. And then I was like, well, I'm still not in this to run against a Dem, so he can't cheat his way out of an ass kicking. So that's how we felt about that.
Yeah, in Florida, you don't have to live in the same district that you're running in, right?
You don't for Congress. I don't know, like maybe afterward they're like, oh, maybe consider getting an apartment there. But it's like, I live where I live and we're all in Miami. I have an office there. And, I did live in district before they cheated me out of it. So but yeah, you don't have to live in the exact district. And I don't know, maybe that's a controversial thing, but I did live in the original Florida 26.
No, I mean, I live in Anna Paulina Luna's district, and I think she moved here from California just to run. So I don't think she even lives in our district. What has it been like? I mean, you're knocking doors. I assume you're spending your days making phone calls, asking for money, asking for votes, explaining your
Yes.
positions. What's a day in the life of a candidate like?
So today I'm taking this interview from home because the internet at our office is like AT&T, and there's an airport nearby, and you know live interviews get a little crazy so far. But basically, we are working on getting volunteers. We're setting up canvases. So we basically do 2 to 3 canvases a week where we get volunteers and go out into the neighborhoods and knock doors and drop lit. And then literature, that's what the
Mhm.
the the
Yeah, we get
insiders
it. We,
call
we
it.
know what that
Yeah.
is.
I told my friend, like, I've never heard these words before, and now I'm using them. Like, um, calling donors, reaching out to organizations that can endorse and spread the word. But a lot of it is just relationship building,
Yeah,
and getting to know the players, getting to know the people who can turn out votes, and who is willing to endorse you and all of that stuff. So, but now that the primaries are over, this week we're working on getting coordinated with the other statewide candidates. So David Jolly, Angie Nixon. I think Annette Tadeo is running statewide for CFO. I can't remember if there's any other state. I think maybe there's one other statewide race.
Angie Nixon. You said Angie Nixon.
Yeah, I said, and then unfortunately in my district, and this is kind of the state of Florida politics, like in my district in the Miami-Dade portion, all of the down ballot races for state house there's no races. They're just Republicans that weren't contested, and they get to go in by
Yeah.
default. So I can't really work with any of them down ballot. So it's really just trying to now figure out, okay, how do we, as our campaign with David Jolly, with Angie Nixon, how do we work together to cover the most ground, to get people out, to make them understand the importance of this election. Um, and yeah, so it's really kind of, you're on call for anything that comes up. And then when you're not doing things, you're calling people and asking for money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dialing for donors. It's a big part
Yeah.
of what you do. Tell us a little bit about when you differentiate yourself from your opponent. I mean, what are your top 3 issues?
I'm very focused on affordability, accountability, uh, and healthcare, but I kind of roll healthcare into affordability at this point, because if you can't afford your healthcare, like, you can't
Yeah.
afford your life. Um, but I really view the situation and the issues that we're having in our economy and with our elected officials as directly correlated to our representatives being bought and paid for by corporate interests. And so, if we all collectively, the American people, think, and we do, like 70% of us think it's the government's responsibility to provide affordable health care, we can't have that, because we have representatives in office that are, you know, taking money from healthcare lobbies and insurance companies, and they have no interest in going against those large dollar donors, because getting those large dollar donors makes their life so much easier, because they don't have to be on the phone for 7 months asking for money. They're like, "Oh, this healthcare company is going to fund my campaign. I'll work for them. That's easier." Like, one job, one ask, one job. And that's why it's a lot harder to run a grassroots campaign. But I think that on the corruption piece, we have to get dark money out of politics. I support publicly funded elections, because the fact of the matter is, if you don't have connections in politics or your own money, it is very hard to run. And the people, and it prohibits people who would do the best job from running.
Yeah.
People who really care about this stuff uh, are most of the time, like, in the community. Maybe they're a firefighter, a nurse, a teacher. These are the people that should be running for these positions because they're plugged into our communities and they know what people actually need and want, um, rather than, Mario Diaz-Balart, who's been in Washington for 24 years and, is doing everything he can to make life unaffordable here. So, we have to focus on policies that make life more affordable, whether that's, that includes some path to universal health care as fast as possible, because people in America should not be dying because they cannot afford health care. Um, we have to tie rent somehow to cost of living, because you should be able to work one job and live where you work. Like people always want to say, oh, if you can't live in Miami, move away. Well, that's where the jobs are. That's where people's families are. That's where, they grew up. And if you've been someplace for 30 years, you don't really appreciate getting priced out because the landlord wants to make more money. So, really focusing on that. But I think, the number one thing is we have to get corruption out of our government, because until we do that, we simply cannot fix anything else.
So you've got what, 2.5 months now till the election? What will you be doing between now and then?
Whew. We will be knocking doors. We will be reaching out to voters, calling voters, doing a lot of call time. Um, and yeah, we're gonna
Maybe
try
some
to do.
debates?
Yes, I'm gonna try debate. I think, if he doesn't show up for the debate, it'll be just a live forum, like Ask Me
Good.
Anything. Um, and yeah, we are just going to try to drum up some momentum. We're gonna try to really engage Gen Z voters. My husband works at the Miami Dolphins, and we are huge Miami Dolphins fans. And the football gods have blessed the campaign by making almost all of the games until the election away games. so so we don't have to go to the stadium on Sundays. But we're gonna do like get out the vote, watch parties during the Dolphins games, and be like, try to get some people interested in what we're doing, even if
Yeah.
they aren't interested in politics,
Yeah.
because we just have to try different things, because it's what we've been doing hasn't necessarily been working the best in Florida. So,
No, it has
uh,
not. But I mean, there's gerrymandering. And I do think people were really disillusioned in 2020 and, that some of the elections, the way they've gone. But it's so important to remember a few things. I've lived in 10 states, most of them red. Like all politics is cyclical.
yeah,
The state that you think is red forever turns blue.
yeah,
And so, this idea that we're just going to give up on red states makes me furious because we have a moral obligation to invest in candidates like you in red states if we want to ever have power. You don't have political power by only owning blue states.
right.
We have to run and support candidates, particularly women, I think, in states like Florida. And we really have an obligation to donate to them and to help get out the vote for them because these are winnable seats. These
Hmm.
states can be taken back, they can be redistricted, but that only happens if we really work on it.
Yeah,
It's great to have blue states, and it's great to make those blue states bluer, but America is not gonna get better until we make red states blue. So,
100%.
I just I really want people to pay attention. I know that there's some races that are really sexy because we might win big, but these are the races, your race, like, these are the races we should be paying attention to and giving support to. So, Nicole, what can people who are watching do? Like, be very specific. You
Yeah.
need money, you need people to get out the vote. What do you people need to talk about you online? What do you need?
We need money, as we always do. So that's number one. If you live in the area and you're willing to host like a house party to help raise money from a few people that that might be able to donate a couple $100 or something, where we could raise maybe $5,000 in one evening, that would be great.
Yes, house
And
parties.
yes, house parties. We are looking for volunteers, interns. We're doing a lot of outreach on college campuses. So if there happens to be any college students in the Miami-Dade or Broward areas, reach out to the campaign. LocklinforCongress.com, LocklinFor Congress.com. And that will take you to my ACLU if you want to donate. You can also sign up there to volunteer or get added to our email list or our text blasts. We also have a WhatsApp channel for volunteers. So if you do want to volunteer in your local, you'll be added to that so you can get, real-time updates. And yeah, we're also open to people who want to get involved and want to do this type of stuff. Um, you know, this is our first time doing it. We don't know all of the things that we don't know.
Yeah.
And we're looking for new ideas and fresh ideas. And, so if anybody has interest or, just wants to send some advice, like you could do that
Yeah.
to email. So,
And you don't have to live in Florida to help people running in Florida.
right.
If you live in a safe state, you are so primed to help people who live in red states, candidates who live in red states. And you can do that through phone banking. You can do that through donations. Obviously, you can take a trip to Florida. It's beautiful here and help knock doors. There's just so many things that people in blue states can do to help people in red states. So, Nicole, I'm just so grateful for you and your bravery that you decided to do this. I wish you the very best. And I really hope to celebrate your win on election night because we need more people like you to take over Washington and make it work again.
Yeah, and I appreciate you so much for having me on. I see Jordan in the chat. He's our director of youth outreach. He said, follow Nicole Locklin at
Yes,
Locklin 2026. So yes, thank you, Jordan.
yes.
And last point is I'm calling this. We are going to flip this seat. The nation is not focused on this, and that's fine. But we've been looking at this since January, and every single move that they make works in our favor. So it moved from an R+17 or R+16 district to an R+7. Our internal
Wow.
polling, yeah, just with the gerrymander, because they basically gave us net 20,000 Democratic voters from
Okay.
Southwest Broward, the part that they cut out of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's district. And so this is totally within the realm of what is flippable. And yeah, Mario Diaz-Balart has got to go.
Look, if you're going to win, this is the year to win in
Yes,
Florida in a wave election. It's a blue wave, so we shouldn't assume anybody can't win that's on the Dem side. Everyone has the possibility if we support them in the right way. So,
exactly.
Nicole, we'll have you back on when you win. So excited to celebrate you as a Congresswoman. And again, just thank you for doing this.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great chatting.
All right, get back
And
on
I
those
I would love
phones.
to come anytime.
Yes, and I'm happy to come over to your side of the state too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.